Okay, yep, there's a little button up in the right there.
Okay, it's just, hold on one second. My computer is just still streaming it. Setting it up. Great, perfect.
There we go. Okay, yep,
All right,
there's
I'm
a little
ready for you
button up
guys.
in the right there.
Thank you. Okay, it's just, hold on one second. My computer is just still streaming it. All right, perfect.
Okay, yep,
All right,
there's
I'm
a
ready
little
for
button
you
up in the right there.
Somebody I'm not hearing.
This is. I want to make sure there's no echo. Okay, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
I had YouTube streaming in the background, so it was a little bit, I was hearing myself after a couple seconds delay. But
Yeah, I think I heard everybody speak. Does it sound like everybody's sound is on? I'm on.
I am too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Maureen.
Hello, Marie.
And Steve, you're still, you sound, we're good? Yep, alrighty. Great to see y'all. Welcome to the August 2020 meeting of the trustees, Board of Trustees of the Waltham Public Library. I'll call the meeting to order at this point. I'm glad to see that everybody's looking and sounding healthy and that the library's up and running. Attendance, I guess Maureen probably has, Marie has that, I assume. They're looking at us all. And has everybody had a chance to review the minutes of the prior meeting?
Yes.
It was good. Found a typo.
Good.
Under new business. It said Ms. Man, it should say Mr. Man.
How do you know that?
No, we were expecting some news here. Yeah.
Much information.
Just to let you guys know, just if I have to jump out for a minute, my wife, unfortunately, last week fractured her hip and they did surgery on her yesterday. So if I get a call from the hospital, I may just have to jump out for a couple minutes and come back.
Sorry.
Oh, please give her our
Wow.
best.
I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, thankfully she she fractured it the right way. So all I need is 3 screws and she's done. I offered to do it and even use galvanized screws so it wouldn't get rusty, but she refused.
Smart choice.
Yeah.
You didn't have the right kind of drill, huh?
I got an electric drill. It'll work.
Yeah. Sterile carpentry.
Exactly.
Well, I didn't see anything in the notes that looked good.
I thought they looked good too. Our usual
Thank you,
stellar.
Marie.
Yep, thank you. So with that in mind, I'd accept the motion to approve the minutes as noted.
Motion to approve. Second. Seconded.
So it looks like Martha and Maureen. And, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The expenditure report. So I guess we have a couple of these to take a look at, but I'll turn that over to Kelly to walk us through them.
Yeah, so this is, I actually just included the almost final fiscal closeout for fiscal year 20. So this is through the June 30th. There's a couple of holdovers that will get cleared up in the next week or so. But other than that, I think we look really great, to be honest. I mean, considering that
I need to step out for a second. I left them on my desk in the other room.
Yeah,
I'll be right
sure.
back.
Yeah, if you guys have had a chance to look at it or if you have questions, you know, I'll say this again, but I think we did really great with the numbers. You guys, I had mentioned at the last meeting that our book budget, educational supplies, we are just about perfection, nailing that budget. It's just super exciting and so much work on behalf of the staff to get that number so perfect. And you know, even being closed for 3 months, our budget is pretty. We were still buying materials and, you know, running the building sort of behind the scenes. So I feel really confident about the budget. I think we did a great job. Some of the big ticket items on the expenditure report, You'll see we certainly spent out the computer equipment just to be prepared for when we next open the doors, and updating some of the tech equipment we have in the building. We finished the security camera project, so that money is all expended. Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. We were a little bit over in some of the supply areas. A lot of that was for the PPE that we've been getting in the building. But the bottom line is just what, about 93.7%. So
That's actually what I was going to ask about, is if the extra expenses for PPEs, where, you know, if that's coming directly from the existing budget or it's coming from somewhere else in the city?
it's coming from our
coming.
budget, or it has been rather. My understanding is that there are federal funds to reimburse most cities and towns for many of these expenditures. So we've tracked that, everything that we've spent separately, and submitted that to the city at their request as well.
Okay, great.
Full details of how that will work out on them, but
Great, thanks.
good question.
And the only one that kind of caught my eye was the communication line. Was that a new feed for internet, or line 5340?
I think the communication line was, it's actually an extra expenditure because we added more money to the security camera that we had to do.
Infrastructure improvement to support the cameras.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Looks good. I think it's commendable, the level of expenditures you were able to maintain with all of the restrictions that we were facing.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Everybody worked very hard. So these are good numbers to see.
Any other questions or comments on the expenditure report for FY 2020 spanning July 1st, 2019 to 6/30/2020?
Looks good.
Very good. In which case, Chair would accept a motion to place the report on file.
So moved.
Second.
Steve and Martha, it looks like. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm just noticing on the minutes from last time, under expenditure report, we didn't place it on file. Is that gonna be a problem?
Because didn't we not have one?
I
'Cause-
don't think we had it, did we?
Yeah, I think there's a note in there also that it wasn't, we didn't have it that month.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
we didn't have it.
That was mine. I had the final total. I had or like a very,
okay, I was just thinking, like, did we make a mistake last time? That is correct, what Martha said, we didn't have one. Okay,
It just, yeah,
sorry.
the timing issue.
Shall we include in this month's meeting minutes then that this was for the whole, this report was for the entire year, in light of, and note that we didn't have the report last month as it was being worked on?
Yeah.
Okay, great. To help us remember in the future. Okay. And Kelly, you're on library operations.
yes. Well, I'm excited to talk about stats, and it's a lot of paper for not a whole lot of stuff maybe to talk about, but I tried to number these pages. If you look at page number 1, I just wanted to briefly show you our overdrive stats. And it looks a little bit funny because it's in Google Docs, and I probably didn't print it out that nicely. But what I really wanted to sort of point out was that how the numbers are growing in terms of overdrive. And in particular, if you look at where we were from March and April to where we were in July, I mean, we're up in just about every area, which is just really nice to see. A little bit down, by, single digit numbers in terms of the total circulation, but I think that's factored in. We talked about audiobooks being a little bit down, which we thought was because so many people are working from home right now and their commutes have been canceled. But just kind of interesting numbers. I always try to pay attention to the average waiting period, in particular, how long we're having patrons having to wait for items. And this is a number that's factored in by sort of all of Minuteman's cooperation in there too. So it's a little higher than we would like to see, but we're working on getting that number down. It's a really popular service, right? Everybody wants the e-materials right now. Just interesting to see, back in April, we had about 2,600 items on hold for Waltham patrons. And as of July, we had 5,000 items. That's pretty close to doubling the number of people using e-resources, which is nice to see. And I put it in there just because I think it's interesting that the most viewed ebook was Crazy Rich Asians, which is a great book. I really enjoyed.
What is that?
It's actually it's not a trilogy, but there's three books you can read in the series, and then there's a fun movie as well. And then the most viewed audiobook was The Woman Upstairs. So that's just fun information to share. And then
the audiobook one, if I can interrupt, the audiobook one that caught my eye was Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting in light of the issues that we've been facing around the country. To see that book come back up as popular, it's a very good book.
Yeah, very interesting. I have to be honest, some of them are just not what I would have guessed if I had to guess the most popular ebook in Waltham right now. But it's always fun to see what people are enjoying. And
yeah, it's nice to see that the system's so robust, really, that it can handle what's going on right now with, that could have been completely taken by surprise technically and had the whole thing just fall flat. I used to work in systems, and a sudden surge in use of a system is a pretty critical moment. And I think the system's doing really well.
100%. And really, Minuteman is certainly owed a lot of credit behind the scenes for a lot of smooth, fast transitions.
Where do these show up on the overall CERC figures then, like on page 4 there, which are the annual CERC figures for FY 2020?
Okay, these would be under...
Like is that on downloadable audio?
It would be downloadable audio, and then we also separate out the downloadable video, so the Canopy and Hoopla, which is actually on the page 2 of the stats. We pull out some of those.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I saw that piece. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Sure. So on page 2, I just wanted to. It's just if you're a librarian or you're passionate about libraries, it's kind of interesting to see. You could just see sort of the increase is very, very busy in July with Freegal. Canopy and Hoopla are so popular with our patrons, which we love to see. I think, July it was about 3,427 visits to Canopy, which is amazing. And then for Hoopla, I think our total was 655, which is one of our highest numbers all year. So just always fun to keep an eye on that. Very, very popular. The numbers are increasing. So that was pages 2 and 3. And then on page 4, that annual CERC, something that I thought was interesting that I wanted to point out is obviously the data is, it looks funny because we've been closed, right, for three whole months. But I did think it was interesting when you look at the actual fiscal year 20 to the fiscal year 19 breakdown, when you're comparing that, we're actually not that far apart, which I thought was really, I think that was a good sign. We were really trending upwards up until the point where we had to close. And like if you look at books, when we sort of ended live circulation, we were at about 50,000. And last fiscal year, our total, not the total books, just looking at the sort of normal popular collection, we were only at 66,000. So we definitely would have surpassed those numbers looking at our monthly average of what we were circing. So that was kind of really great to see, just to point out in terms of the annual circ. And just the very bottom line of our total circulation, looking from last year to this year, we were about 80,000 items off, but that's with being closed three whole months. So I thought those numbers still looked, they're not going to be pretty, but they don't look as bad as I thought they were. July's numbers, I guess they're a little bit, page 5, it's kind of a rogue thing to include just because July is the first time we've really done CERC in 3 months. But I did want to just show you what was moving, and this is basically, you know, it's not browsing, it's all staff filled holds and e-materials, but numbers.
Well, there was still an increase over FY19
For
or
July.
18. I'm sorry, FY18. on the
Yeah,
Bottom line, there's still like almost a
Bottom
6%
line, right.
increase.
yeah, I think the numbers are still looking good and they're only going up. Individual questions, but if you look on page 6, I did want to mention, I thought, you know, sort of a quick study of our collection development stats, so where we were in terms of circulation ranking. And back in June, we were only actually open, we were only getting patrons materials, open for patron pickups for 2 days. So keeping that in mind, you know, we were 35th, we were way down the line. And honestly, I was actually surprised by the libraries that were ahead of us because I thought we were more in line with those. So those numbers to me, I even had Minuteman double check because I thought, how could we be so far down the line? But in fairness, we were really only, you know, we were working behind the scenes, but we weren't actually giving patrons the materials. It only happened for 2 days. So when you look at July, you'll see we quickly climbed back up to number 15, and we are looking to very quickly move back into the top 10, which is where we normally, as you know, like to live. But I was glad to see that jump, and I did want you to sort of see the comparison now that we've got patrons coming in to pick up their material. And that is a nice segue just to mention that we've stopped doing it by appointment, and now people can just come in anytime that, you know, we're in the building and get their materials, and we just run and get it, check it out, and get people out. And in addition to that, 2 things that we've just introduced yesterday today is, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to try to show you here. This is actually a picture from our Facebook page, but it is Lisa and Emily and Shauna, and the children's room. Shauna came up with this great idea of, I should say the children's team came up with this great idea of book bundles. So somebody can just grab their little tags that have themes. So
Oh,
there's
nice.
Disney and the beach and different age groups, and we have surprise theme packages and packages in Spanish, and you hand the card to you put the card in a box and the librarian sees which one it is. They go get the books and they check them out for you.
Very
So
nice.
I did see on Facebook 3 very favorable comments from parents. So I don't know them, but their comments were very favorable about those book bundles, and they were just saying, basically telling other parents that they should look into this and go and do it, but they were very favorable.
Thank you for noticing this.
That's one of the things I've always loved about open stacks, is I often find the book I was really looking for while looking 10 books on either side of the one I thought I wanted.
Of course. I apologize. My phone is ringing in the background. It's actually my husband. I'll call him back. It's okay. I can't silence my phone. It's a weird thing with my phone where it will not be silenced. That's why I'm not silencing it. But the book bundles are actually awesome. We talked a little bit last month too. Children's books, they're hard to place holds on it because your kid, you know, if I have a 4-year-old and she likes books about Disney princesses, but she doesn't care what the book is, right? As long as it's a good book about Disney princesses. And it's hard to just, not hard if your mom's a librarian, but you know what I'm saying. Give us the card in the basket and we will get you a bunch of books. And now when you walk into the ground floor in the children's room where the windows are, we've placed 5 huge tables, and very much like a jewelry store, maybe like a candy store display. We've put out tons of titles so that patrons can just come in and point to things, and we'll sort of go behind the scenes and get books for them. And they can check those out right there. So we recognize the need for browsing, and we're trying to do whatever we can do safely and get people materials. So I thought that was a really great idea. Shauna had mentioned that this morning, and it's already in place. So staff moved very quickly. So I'm very excited about that. And then I also wanted to add just really quickly with stats. We had 80 appointments booked on Monday, and what we did is we made a slow announcement that we were just going to let people as they show up check out materials, and now we're starting to increase the publicity on that program. But we had 48 people randomly come in without a reservation just on Monday, without even advertising the program. So we were really happy to just get people their material. Everyone wants their library books. It's been very manageable, much, much easier. We just started our home delivery process again this week. So we reached out to all our patrons who get home delivery, and we are getting books out to them, which is nice to restart that program again. And just in July, we were looking at, staff placed about almost 6,000, checked out 6,000 items to patrons behind the scenes, which was, that's quite a lot. We're not open nights and weekends right at the moment. They placed over 1,000 holds for patrons and checked in almost 8,500 items that were returned in July. So good numbers that way. And then I did want to just mention really quickly with Beanstack, that's our new summer reading program that's online. We're getting a huge response. That, and I only have July statistics done right now, but we had 136 children sign up, 31 teens, and actually 109 adults. This was the first year we've done a summer reading program for adults, sort of in the same vein. Normally we have watch, read, listen all summer, but this is adults have an opportunity to enter challenges and win prizes for their reading as well, which is really great. Not just reading, watching and activities. So we've got about 276 people participating with that, and we've already have prize winners, and we've sent out some nice generous gift cards from lots of fun donors nearby. So we're very excited about that. I think that's it for stats. Mostly good stuff. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
No, sounds good. Glad to see that it's all moving along.
Yeah. We personnel, there's no exciting news in terms of personnel. Minuteman's continuing to work really hard again behind the scenes and be really useful for us as we sort of, as Martha indicated, do so much more digital resources and keeping everything running smoothly, the circulation software up and running. So that's been really great. And the Friends are good. We're going to start actually putting some Friends brochures with the hold pickup. So when patrons come to pick up their holds, the Friends have just done up a nice flyer to encourage membership. And it's in English, Spanish, and Haitian Creole, which is really great. So a multilingual document that will be just reminding people about the Friends and all the good work that they do. They are funding, again, all of our virtual programming. Been very, very generous with us. And I think that's about it. It's mostly good stuff. We're working super hard. Yeah.
I'd like to bounce back up to Minuteman for a minute if I can, segueing back to our minutes from last month, where Kelly had reported in her position as executive or as president of the executive board of MLB or MLN, that there had been a library that was on risk of not meeting the requirements to maintain its membership in the organization. Kelly sent out a little note to the librarian there, just saying, hey, are you sure about that? As I understand it. And that got misconstrued by the mayor of that town. And a letter was sent to our mayor bemoaning the recognition of that difficulty. And so it appeared that there was the role in which Kelly was reaching out as a fellow head librarian was misconstrued with official business of the Minuteman system. And so Kelly's taken steps to make sure that she has a separate Minuteman library network email so that there won't be any confusion between city halls in the future.
The new email address is already in the works, so that is
Great.
all taken care of. Yes.
Any news on the art ownership?
No, but it has resurfaced a little bit for us to get going as a project. We had sort of waylaid it a little bit just with everything going on, but it has resurfaced in the to-do pile. So maybe I will have a better update for next month, because this would be a nice time as we're sort of getting into our groove to get going on.
I had two other possible thoughts for new business or things to look at. In a book group I'm in, we're reading the library book about the big fire out in LA. Yeah. And with the coronavirus 19 here, or COVID-19, thinking, gee, that's a disaster too. And I know that at some point there had been a disaster program or plan put into effect for our library, and I thought maybe it made sense to at least read through it again at a future meeting. I remember Tom Jewell at one point said, well, the disaster plan is to turn the electricity off and call the restoration company in Boston to start flash freezing everything. Okay. But just wanted to make sure that we're all kind of aware of what the steps would be if there was that contingency of a fire or sprinklers that went off, as well as, you know, earthquakes, whatever else we may.
Yeah, let's review the document. That's a great idea.
I think it's in our active files somewhere. Mm-hmm. You might be able to find it. And I'll take a look through my notebooks too. Okay. And then the second one was a few years ago, we did a review, I think before many of you were on, of the charter and the lines of authority in the city government for the authorization of us as an entity, the library board, what our roles are under the city charter and by state legislation. And I'll work through finding those documents again and try to get them out, and we can try to review them and look at them just so we're aware of where we all sit. Not to be creating any make work, but just to have it in our minds.
Yep. Just since you mentioned that, I did want to just mention quickly, because it came up in the last meeting, the qualified immunity question. So I don't have a resolution for that right now, but that was still on our lists. And you have reminded me two things that I wanted to actually mention, that the teen room, Luke Kirkland, our head of the teen room, and the teen room in general, received over $1,100 worth of donations through the Waltham Together Fund, which is a group of people committed to, I don't want to misspeak, but I don't have it right in front of me, but a wonderful organization. You can actually read a whole lot more about that online, are picking organizations to support and soliciting donations for them. So they did this via the Friends, and they raised $1,100 for members of the community, which is really amazing. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that we are offering wireless printing to patrons as well. So hopefully you have heard about that. Patrons can just come in the parking lot or log onto our wireless and send it right in and print their papers and pick them up right there. And that's working out very well. So our offering.
Kelly, just quickly, that Waltham Together group, if I have my facts correct, was initiated by, I believe, a group of Waltham teachers and or staff, and then they reached out to Friends, and they reached out, and there's a group, and every week, if you're on their mailing list, you get notification of the organization that they are funding that week. And there's a form that you automatically donate to the whatever the group is, and then there's another form you fill out that goes directly to whoever organized the group, just to let them know that you're, you know, actively participating, or which organization you did. And I know the library, the teen room was one, the Boys and Girls Club has been one. And last week and this week, I know they've been, the funds are going to masks that are being made for every student as they return, as school reopens in some fashion.
Thank you.
What was the name of the group again?
It's called Waltham Together.
Well, that's marvelous.
Yeah, it's really great.
All righty. Any other announcements or comments?
I get
So-
one question to ask,
Yes.
which is always dangerous with me when stuff comes across my mind. And you'd mentioned, when you'd mentioned it about Luke, it has nothing to do with him, but have we ever thought about doing any kind of outdoor programs during this time where you could do something outside and people can be separated and whatnot? Or is that just too hard to do because you never know the size of the crowd coming in?
Yes. The answer is yes to both of that. We've had a couple of really great ideas about doing stuff on the front lawn. But our concern is, I had actually heard, I didn't create this idea, but I loved it. Some other amazing organization has a large lawn or green space, and they actually marked out 6 feet of, and then did circles. So like families could come and sit in individual circles and spread out. And it's just spray paint and it grows out when we cut the grass. It's not a big deal. I thought that was a great idea, but it would be about limiting the numbers. And we felt awkward about having people come. Honestly, we felt awkward about having people come and then being able to control the crowd and not sort of manage that efficiently. And then we worried about not having public restrooms open right now. So we were a little bit on the fence with that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the teen room has tried it a little bit with sort of mixed results. So we've sort of been a little bit hesitant on that, but it's in the discussion pile of things that we would like to sort of bring out. I think everybody's a little bit nervous with some of the numbers creeping up. I think there's an overall feeling of, are we moving? It won't really change how we're doing things right now, but are we moving back to to phase 2 a little bit like that? I think people are still kind of nervous about that. So right now that's where we are, but it's a good question. We still have the beautiful lawn and how we can do it. I was thinking back, I was looking at some of the data from 2020. I don't know if you remember, we had the Snow Sisters from Frozen here to meet the kids. And I was like, it was such an amazing program. We had 700 people show up. And I was like, is there a way we could do it? And everybody could wear masks. But then I was like, no, there's just like, that's not like, it's not happening this year. And I have to.
No, you'd have to go over to Leary Field at the 50-yard line and fill up both sides of the field with people and the bleachers.
Yeah,
to get
some kind
the
of
spacing.
walk by story hour where you get a little snippet. You got to keep moving round and around,
true.
round and around the building like the farmer's market.
True.
That's a good idea.
Round and around.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but we continue to talk about it and think about ways that we can do it. You know, the virtual stuff I feel really confident about. You know, the staff are really working so hard to make all of that happen. But I certainly want to acknowledge everybody who just does not have access to the online, both, you know, whether it be wireless, internet, or the devices to stream it, or really the timing. You know, our timing isn't necessarily going to meet everybody's personal needs. So we are continuing to talk about it, and I will keep you in the loop.
Are there a fair number of people who sit outside to access the wireless, whether they're sitting on the lawn or out in the back?
There's a few, there's not a ton, not like an accessible amount where anybody I think would feel uncomfortable, but there's every time when I come and when I leave every day, there are people at the little picnic table. Not a ton, but you know, 1 or 2 people there and scattered around on the lawn for sure every day, which is great. It's a great spot to hang out in for sure.
Back a couple months ago, there'd been some discussion about your outreach to the homelessness service people around the city and with the library. closed, I assume there are needs that are going unmet. Have you had any feedback or follow-up from the different folks at the police department and community outreach?
Yep, so I have personally done some research with that. There was some services available on the city hall lawn that aren't there, that aren't there right now. I had reached out also to we reached out to Bristol Lodge, and then I reached out to the Community Day Center just to see what we could offer. And it's tricky because they have I've reached out to them just to say, let me know what it is we can provide you guys, if whether it's materials for some of our patrons who aren't getting a chance to come in. We do have some patrons that are, without making assumptions, some of our regulars who have come in and they've taken advantage of the hold pickup just the same. I've certainly reached out to the day center to say, if there's patrons who need an accommodation or need me to swing by with some material or however I can make that work, we're happy to do it. And she thought that was great. I think, one of the challenges to being homeless is you don't want to carry around a heavy book all the time or be responsible for that in your backpack. It is a little bit easier to come to the library and enjoy it here. So acknowledging that and trying to see what we can do. It's tough. It's one of those times where, we're certainly talking about it on a greater scale with other library directors as well. As this is what we're so conscious, at least we try very hard to be conscious of the inequities of how we reach everybody in general. And this is just making it so apparent of what some of our limitations are. So we are trying to reach out to people and do the best we can to meet them where they are. And if people have both reached out to us and needed an accommodation or in alternative format, if we can find it for them, we are trying to go above and beyond to get that to them for sure.
Well, great, thank you. On just a closing note, I guess I'd like to make an announcement. If you haven't already, be sure to fill out your census. Yes. And encourage everybody to do that. It looks like the collection period is going to be cut off a month early, so we certainly need to get all the data we can into the system to benefit Waltham as much as possible.
That's a very good point. Yes, thank you for saying that.
Let's see, next meeting looks like it was going to be September 10th, which is right after Labor Day.
Yep.
I'm going to be in Syracuse, but since we're doing it remotely, it shouldn't be a problem, I expect. So we'll look at 1 o'clock on September 10th. And wish everybody a happy and healthy interlude between now and then, and Labor Day as well.
You as well.
Thank you.
Do we have to close the agenda officially?
Somebody needs to make a motion.
I will make such motion to adjourn.
Second.
And this is the next on the minutes, but I just want to, we're good with the 1 o'clock on those dates because I'll have everything set up to go live on YouTube for those. And if things move forward and we end up meeting in person and things get better, no problem, we'll change it. But now, for right now, the agenda then is, it's all set at the city clerk's office and on our website. So we're good to move forward.
Alrighty, September 10th at 1. And Steve, was that you with the second on that motion?
Sure.
Okay, that's what I thought. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion clearly carries. Thanks everybody for coming, and enjoy the rest of your summer here.
You as well.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Adjourned.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.